Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Before we begin, we acknowledge that we're in the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe peoples in the Huron-Robinson Treaties area. We recognize the long history of First Nations and Métis peoples on this land and show respect to them today. We acknowledge that we have important neighbors in the Wattamohawks, the First Nations of Moose Deer, Shawniga, Wasauksing, Magnetawan, Henvey Inlet, Nipissing, and the Dokies. And we must ensure that the decisions we make today will take into consideration the future of our children and that of our children's children. As settlers on this land, we're grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all of the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. So I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask for approval of the agenda with a couple things that came in your addendum. There was significant correspondence related to item 5A, the Giacardi application, and two additions to business. One, item C, discussion of the strong mayor party powers, and D, piece of correspondence from the Near North School Board regarding the McDougall School opening. So with those additions, could I have approval of the agenda? Thank you. And, oh yes, anybody have any pecuniary interest to disclose? Nope. Okay, I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adopt the minutes of the regular and closed session meetings of council held on April 7th, 2025 as circulated. Could I have a mover? Ken and Greg? Oops, can't be Greg. Greg wasn't here. Mario. Thanks. All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adjourn the regular meeting to hold a public meeting for the following matters. Zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2025-0003-H for Giacardi. My apologies for pronunciation. Consent application number B 2024-0033-H for Mail. And zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2025-0004-C and consent applications number B 2025-678-C for Henhofer and consent application number B 2025-0009-H for Curtis. Could I have a mover? Gail and Greg. All in favor? Thank you. Council will now hold public meetings for proposed consent and zoning bylaw amendment applications. In accordance with the Planning Act, Council will consider all matters placed before it prior to granting a consent or passing a zoning bylaw amendment. Anyone wishing to receive notice of a decision or notice of the passing of a zoning bylaw amendment and who has not submitted such a request in writing should provide your full name and address to the clerk. No one other than the prescribed persons may appeal an application under the provisions of the Planning Act. If they do not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin prior to the decision of Council, then the Ontario Land Tribunal may dismiss the appeal. The purpose of zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2025-0003-H for Giacardi is to demolish the existing dwelling, boathouse, and dock and construct a new dwelling, a 2-story, 3-slip boathouse, and a dock on the property. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which the notice of the meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property, posting on the Township of Seguin's website, and by regular mail on February 20th, 2025. Notice was therefore considered to be provided in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to this application?
Correspondence has been received from Brian McGooey, Charles Coe, Lake Joseph North Association, Patricia Pape, and Janice Wedge, and James Buchanan.
Is there anyone present in person in the council chambers who wishes to speak in favor of or in opposition to this application? If so, please raise your hand. No? Yeah, I'll ask for the electronic participation in a minute. Has anyone registered to speak to this application via electronic participation?
Marie Poirier of MP Planning Inc. and Jonathan Scharf of Richard Wengel Architect Inc., agents for the applicant, and the Lake Joseph North Association have registered to speak to this application via electronic participation.
So we have Marie.
Marie first.
Yeah, Marie, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me, Madam Chair?
Yes, I can. So you have the floor now.
Very good. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for allowing us to speak this afternoon. The first thing that I'd like to clarify is the fact that this application is actually for a 1.5-story boathouse. The application itself and the planning justification report were for a 1.5-story boathouse, and it's been designed for a 1.5-story boathouse. There was an email exchange, unfortunately, between a former staff member of mine who's not familiar with planning in Muskoka, Parry Sound, and he referred to it as a 2-story boathouse in that email exchange. And I think that carried over when Brady did her report. But in fact, the application is for a 1.5-story boathouse. So I'd like to start by going over the application details that are required in order to fulfill the planning objective for this particular property. Although there are a number of variances required, each one on its own merit, in my opinion, could be considered a minor variance, and meeting the 4 tests of meeting the general intent of the official plan, the zoning bylaw, being minor in nature and desirable for the property. However, in pre-consultation discussions with the municipality, we were asked to submit this as a zoning bylaw application, and we did. So you can see that we're asking for a maximum lot coverage increase to 8.6%, where 6.25 is required. And that's largely to do with topographical constraints on this property, which you will be able to see in photos later. And if you so desire, the architect can also speak as to why he had to locate the buildings the way he did because of natural constraints. We're asking for a minimum dwelling front yard setback reduction of 1.88 meters, and that's for a very small corner of the house only. It's not for the entire width of the dwelling, and I'll demonstrate that in a sketch shortly. The maximum boathouse height, we're asking to be increased by less than a meter. The maximum height from the main boathouse roof to the eave, we're asking for 0.7, again less than a meter. The maximum number of boathouse stories, currently the 2-story boathouse is on the property. That's going to be demolished, and the new boathouse will be 1.5 stories. The maximum boathouse width, we are asking for 4 meters. In variance, 11 is permitted, 15 is being sought. The maximum number of boat slips is 2. We are asking for 3, and I will provide some planning justification for that shortly. The maximum percentage of the roof dormer, we're asking for a 10% increase from 50% to 60%. And we're asking for a maximum combined dock and deck area of 24 square meters. Can I have the next slide, please? And here you can see on this particular slide, the outline in green are the existing structures. The outlines in black are the proposed structures. As you can see, the proposed structures fit entirely over the footprint of the existing structures. They've been rotated differently, they've been reconfigured, but they take up the same general footprint, which is why there will be no need to remove any trees or undertake any blasting. I would ask you please to look at the left-hand photo, where you'll see that tiny red corner of the dwelling. That is the only portion of the dwelling for which the reduction in the front yard setback is being sought. With respect to the dwelling, we would note that we are asking for the maximum square footage permitted in the bylaw. Notwithstanding what exists now, we're not asking for anything more than we're entitled to as of right in the zoning bylaw. And the dwelling that's being proposed will be a one-story where a two-story is located now. Slopes are, by the contour lines, are very close together. We are not asking for any relief for any other portion of the house. Next slide. And here we have a photograph, council, to demonstrate that huge rock. Perhaps if there's a pointer available, we can point that out for council members, the topography and the rock. And that's where we need the variance, so we don't have to blast that rock. May I have the next slide, please? And here we have an overview of the property. Members of council, you'll see on the left-hand side, upper left-hand side, the two-story dwelling that exists now that's going to be reduced to one story. To your right is the existing boathouse. That's a two-story boathouse now, directly facing across the bay. The new boathouse will replace that in the same footprint, but will be reconfigured more to facing the out of the lake and out of the bay area. And the bottom two photos show the development on the property. The bottom right showing the amount of vegetation that's there when leaf is on, and the fact that none of those trees will need to be removed in order to undertake the proposed development. Next slide, please. This is the existing boathouse to be removed, both a side view and a rear view. Next slide, please. And the existing boathouse to be replaced again. You can see the location of it on the eastern shoreline of the subject property. And again, we have some other views to it. It has dormers. It's fairly aged. It's rather decrepit. And we're hoping to put a nice new safe structure there that's aesthetically pleasing and is in character with the other boathouses within that bay and along the shorelines of the lake. May I have the next slide, please? There was another boathouse on the property that was removed in and around 2022. This particular boathouse was a 3-slip boathouse on that portion of the property just off the tip of the mainland, and it has already been removed. So we would like to note that the net gain here is the removal of two aged boathouses, 5 slips in total, down to one boathouse having 3 slips, which is being architecturally designed, and the architect can speak to that shortly. May I have the next slide, please? And here is the new boathouse. It's very simple, but well designed to be 1.5 stories. It's got the peaked roof and the dormers, similar to all of the boathouses in the bay. And again, I would draw your attention, please, council, to the middle slide, which shows the black footprint over the green footprint. The new boathouse will not protrude out into the lake as much as the current one. And as you can see, it takes up the same footprint, albeit it's slightly larger. No trees will have to be removed in order to construct this boathouse. Next slide, please. And just this is off your homepage of your website, as a matter of fact. We have other 3 boathouse slips. There are 3-slip boathouses in the township. We hope that you will find that our design is more in keeping in character with the natural shoreline and with the peaked roof, and you know, very, very well designed to be fitting in with the natural landscape. And next slide, please. At one point in time, there was some discussion as to whether or not this is in a narrow water body. It's not. The narrow water body and the schedule of your official plan is that water body which is in between the mainland and the island. You'll see there's a footbridge to that. Now that negates the fact that that can be a navigable waterway, but that, because it's being narrow, is a narrow water body. The new boathouse is proposed to be located on top of the footprint of the old boathouse and well away from any narrow water body, thereby reducing any potential for any navigational hazards. Next slide, please. We have a letter of support of the application. This was received some time ago, and I'm sorry, I'm not deliberately leaving out the letters of opposition, but I only received them 2 hours ago. So I think they'll be dealt with separately and perhaps by the authors of those letters. Next slide, please. So I'd like to summarize, please, Council, if you'll indulge me. The proposed development is consistent with the Planning Act, the provincial policy statement, and the Township of Seguin official plan. We did a thorough and robust policy review in our planning justification report, which accompanied the application. The peninsula-shaped lot of this particular property has an actual frontage of over 1,000 feet, which far exceeds the straight line frontage, and thereby mitigates any visual impact. The closest boathouse to this property to the east is in fact almost 400 feet away as the crow flies. There will be no development on the opposite side of the peninsula-shaped lot. The application is consistent and compatible in character with the surrounding shoreline land uses. We have some drone footage as well. I wanted to keep my presentation short, but we can bring it up for you at any time, showing all of the boathouses in that bay, which will be very similar architecturally to the one that we're designing, except that they are 2-slip boathouses where we are requesting 3. In my professional opinion, as a professional planner, the property is not being overcrowded. The property has over 3 acres and over 1,000 feet of shoreline frontage, and the structures are going to be put on footprints where structures already exist. They will not dominate the natural environment. They're modest in height. As a matter of fact, the dwelling is reduced in height in stories, and they will not interfere with any views from the lake. As you have seen from the topographical mapping, the house is well back from the lake and high up and will not interfere with any of the views at the shoreline. Next slide. Next slide. There we go. Again, the shoreline setback that we're asking for is only required due to topographical constraints to accommodate one small corner of the dwelling. The boathouse is protected from the windiest portion of the sides of the property and has adequate water depth. In place of the existing boathouse, this will minimize the visual impact and vegetation removal. And there are other 3-slip boathouses on Lake Joseph, with a 3rd slip boathouse on the property historically, which has now been removed. Last slide, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you. I want to leave you with my opinion as a professional planner that this represents good planning. It's been well thought out, architecturally designed, all on the same footprint, and will actually reduce visual impacts by reducing the number of stories in the dwelling and by ensuring that no vegetation will be removed as part of this development. Again, thank you, and I would be happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Does council have any questions for Ms. Poirier? We do have a 2 more presentations on this property to come today. Does anybody have any questions? Councillor Fellner.
Thank you, Mayor. I probably have a question. I'd like to listen to all the presentations before I ask. Thank you.
So we'll move on. We have Jonathan Scharf of Richard Wengel Architect, I believe also on Zoom.
Hi there. Hi, Council. My name is Jonathan Scharf, and I'm a designer from Richard Wengel Architect, Inc., agent for the applicant. Can you hear me?
Could you turn your, yeah, we can hear you, but we can't see you. Can you turn your camera on?
Unfortunately, I do not have a camera with me at the moment.
Okay. Do you have any slides to share?
No, I'm just going to be adding an additional point onto what Marie has already spoken about, which is the boathouse, just to clarify the 1.5 story boathouse as opposed to 2 stories. So also my address is 102 Avenue Road, Toronto, Ontario. So just to clarify the 1.5 story boathouse as opposed to 2, the reason is because it is an A-frame design with the dormers. There was some confusion about this, but the second floor is compliant at 60 square meters, as opposed to the ground floor, which is 188 square meters. So it's about 1/3 the size of the ground floor. And additionally, the roof slopes down towards the deck. So it's not actually two complete stories with a roof on top, as opposed to what it is exactly 1 story with a roof on top of that 1 story and the space within that roof space. So it's a compact design similar to other guest cottages along the waterway there. And the occupation of the space is within that half story up above the ground floor. And that's everything I just wanted to add on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
And I
you.
believe the Lake Joseph North Association would like to present as well. Do we have Nancy?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
Lindy Forte. I'm going to speak on behalf of Lake Joe North Association. I have a cottage also on the north end of Lake Joe at 85 Topajo Road. We've prepared a presentation. I'll show my screen. And pardon me, I hope none of my work notifications come through while we're on. I'll just put it in presentation mode. There we go. Okay, I think council is well aware of the mandate of Lake Joe North Association, so I won't spend any time on this slide. Really, our priorities are around the view from the canoe, preserving the natural beauty of the lake for future generations, and we're also concerned with water quality, so preserving the integrity of the natural environment. These are the requested exemptions. They're 10 in number. I don't need to go over them. The property itself has straight line frontage of 118 meters. It is representative of lots in the area. And the property has an island attached to the mainland with a footbridge. And you can see that in the right-hand photograph there. In terms of the requested exemptions, so I appreciate the presentation showing that the new structure will be built on the footprint of the old structure and that no trees will come down, but the total coverage of the buildings on the property will more than double. In terms of the main building, the total lot coverage of the new main dwelling would increase almost 40% over what is allowed in the bylaw, and the gross floor area would increase by over 100% relative to the current footprint. And you can see the trees behind the existing structure there, or the structure that is slated to come down. There are trees there. I'm not sure how the new building will be erected without removal of trees. For the deck and the dock, the total area of the deck and the docks will increase by about 30%. The proposed boathouse is almost 40% wider than permitted, and the decking request is 14% more than is allowed. And as we've heard already many times, an additional third boat slip is requested when only 2 are permitted. The proposed boathouse will be more than twice the size of the existing boathouse. I don't know if there were some figures that are incorrect in the application or the materials we received, because the figure did look different. So that is for sure a point of confusion. For the Lake Joe North Association, we feel that the proposed zoning bylaw amendments are unreasonable. There are 10 in number altogether. It's excessive. The main dwelling, again, would increase to almost 40% over what is allowed. The boathouse and docks would be 40% wider than permitted. And again, there's a third boat slip requested. So in contrast to the planner's presentation, we feel that the intent of the official plan, which is to limit the density and intensity of development on the lakes in the township in order to protect the visual qualities of the lakes, will not be respected. And justifications for these exceptions to the zoning bylaw aren't entirely clear. So reading them through the materials, we looked at some of the quotes that justify the extent of the build. For example, the proposed structures are at an appropriate scale for the lands, being similar in width, length, and footprint to the existing structures to better utilize the property, but it's unclear how they could be similar when the size will double. And we're not sure how this will better utilize the property. With respect to needing to encroach on the required 20-meter front yard setback due to topographical constraints, I think that it's not clear how extending the structure into the minimum setback could be a compromise to preserve vegetation or due to the topographical constraints if the entire structure is just made smaller and or that small portion of the build is omitted. The proposed development would not result in any shoreline alteration or vegetation removal. I think perhaps that looks to be true according to the diagram that was presented today, but according to the description of the build being much larger and wider than is allowed, it's unclear again how the shoreline would not be altered. Our members are asking that overbuilding is not permitted and that the bylaws be applied fairly and consistently to all. I can speak as a cottage owner preparing a new build. When it came to the boathouse, the council and the planners were very adamant that we had to respect the bylaws. We were not allowed to go outside of them. Neighbors have expressed concern regarding the visual and environmental impacts of the proposed changes. You can see a lot of the quotes that are coming from our members here about, there are bylaws. Why aren't we sticking to the bylaws? The bylaws are based on the straight line measurement, not on the contoured measurement of the point there. Our members are reliant on the township to enforce the bylaws. Many cottagers build in Seguin without the need to request bylaw exemptions, etc. And overall, we feel that the bylaws have been instrumental in maintaining the natural beauty and environmental integrity of the lake, and they should be respected. In terms of our objection and our proposal, we felt that if the applicant could satisfy all of the following, there could be some agreement here. So we would like to see detailed landscape plans with renderings to show that the new main structure and boathouse will not dominate the view and will fit into the landscape. For the main cottage, we'd like to see an overall reduction of the main structure to make it fit within the allowable building space and within the 20-meter setback and the coverage limit of 6.25%, or perhaps remove the accessory buildings, i.e. the existing garage and the other outbuildings, and remediate the landscape in much the same way that one of the old boathouses was removed. Perhaps some of the other older structures could be removed as a compromise to have the larger main cottage. For the deck and dock, we would like to see a reduction in the overall size of the boathouse to make it fit within the allowable 11-meter width. And a final thought, there have been some concerns expressed regarding the plans for the island. It appears that there may be significant plans to rebuild the structures on the island, including the potential for another boathouse and a cottage structure that is larger and not built on the footprint. But we don't have clarity around that. And I think there was a statement made about the island. I'm not sure if I missed it early in this call, but we would like to see these questions answered in writing in conjunction with the current application. And thank you very much on behalf of Lake Joe North Association.
Thank you very much. So now I will open it up to questions from councillors. Councillor Fellner, do you want to go first?
Thank you, Mayor. My question is for the planner. And I noticed that you were retained on this file. You've had this file for quite some time, from the looks of it, 2 or 3 years. On the face of it, it's an excessive. I mean, what I find interesting is this is in my ward, and not too unusual to get requests like this in my ward, but the trend is they keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm just wondering, I'm reading the planning report from our staff, who we rely very heavily on. And so I assume that you had conversations with our staff before you submitted this. Is that correct?
Ms. Poirier, are you there and able to
Yes,
hear?
sorry,
Councillor
it just
Kelly?
takes, there's a bit of a delay, Madam Chair, with my, turning my audio on. Yes, we did have, pre-consultation, discussions with staff, early on.
Right, okay, and from what I understand, from reading the staff report, I guess you really didn't think too much, I guess, of staff's comments, or didn't take them into account, or I
I-
appreciate that there was probably maybe a mistake made with the boathouse, but just seems, I mean, it's a significant number of asks, and some of them on the face of it, my opinion, on the face individually, some of them are very significant, and some of them that really, quite frankly, we don't typically consider those types of asks. So I just wondered why you felt in this particular situation it was appropriate to
I-
ask for so many.
Well,
When staff really wasn't
yeah, I
that
can answer
interested.
that for you, sir. Yes, certainly. You know, we did go back and forth with, the architect, and we looked at, you know, several different designs. As a professional planner, I looked at the impact of each of the exceptions that we're asking for, and that's the key with land use planning. It really isn't about the number of variances you're asking for, it's about the impact that results from them. And that's what we looked at. We are not asking for anything bigger on the house than it's permitted by the bylaw. We've tried to keep this, right on the same footprint so that, you know, there is no visual impact any more than what's there. As a matter of fact, less than what's there, save and except the, slip on the boathouse, the extended, width and the slip. A boat port would be permitted. We're asking for a slip. And we did consider that, and our client, asked us to please ask you if, you know, based on our opinion provided to you with respect to impact and the merits of that particular variance, to consider this, exception to the zoning bylaw. So to be fair, I think, yes, we did, work with staff. Yes, we did work with our own team. We went through several versions. We came up with something that as professional planners, we could support and, provide justification. I think that, although you know, if you want to say something that's excessive because of the number of variances, but if you look at some of them, you know, for height and so on, it's less than a meter. And on a property of 3 acres in size and 1,000 feet of frontage on a peninsula lot, that's pretty indiscernible. And that's, as a professional planner, what I have. I've been working with Seguin Township, you know, for 25 years and helped with your official plans and zoning bylaws over that time. And I fully understand how important your view from the canoe is, which I think was coined by, you know, Reeve Kahn many, many years ago. And I honestly can tell you, in my professional opinion, this development, if approved with these variances, will not have any more visual impact from the canoe than what exists now. Probably better, given those 2 decrepit boathouses that are existing now.
Well, I don't really know about that statement. I lived down up the lake from that particular piece of property for about 45 years, and I always enjoyed looking at the old boathouses, but they all run their course. But thank you very much for your reply. I think you've answered my questions.
Thank you, sir.
Councillor Finson.
Through you, Madam Mayor. My comment, maybe questions are, first of all, yes, there are 10 variances that you're asking for, which in my opinion makes it no longer minor variances when you have so many. And they're big asks. What you called a half, 1.5 boathouse is a guest house, you said. You said it in your presentation that it was a guest house. So it's a two-story. And then the boathouse that you showed, didn't have a half story on it. It was the 3-slip with nothing on top. It was just a deck. So I think personally, for me, there's a lot of big asks here. And I, again, always wonder why that you pay a lot of money for planners and architects when they can't fit 1 meter into the plan. 1 meter, 1 meter, 1 meter, 1 meter. A lot of them have 1 meter, which is, when you put it in feet, it's a lot more, like 15 meters. That's a lot. That's 45 feet, right? So it's not little. It looks smaller in meters, but I just have, I don't understand why you would ask for so much, so many variances on the property. Why somebody that's really smart and works in that field couldn't figure out a way to fit this within a meter. I don't understand. Anyway, it looks like a lot to me, and as it is, I wouldn't approve it.
Counselor Getty.
Thank you. I'll be very quick. My question is, for Marie, in your presentation, you mentioned that there was a historical 3-slip boathouse. At one time, there was 2 boathouses on the property, the one that's still existing, that is being proposed to rebuild. And there was a second one that was, at some point in the past, demolished and taken down. My question is, was that prior to or after the applicant's purchase of the property?
Honestly, Counselor, I'm so sorry, but I cannot answer that question and I don't want to make something up. But I know that that the property owner is there. Perhaps if you want to indulge, he would answer that question for you.
Thank you.
Through chair.
Yeah, can you push the green button there? Yeah, okay, thank you.
Through chair, the boathouse was demolished previously to the purchase by the current owner.
Prior to the current owner taking ownership?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm just going to add a question, and I'm going to support the Little Lake or the Lake Joe Association in saying that if any work is to be done on the adjoining island, I think the application should be complete with all of it, including if there's going to be anything taken down or anything added to any part of the property, including the island with the walkway, it should all come at one application. And I am particularly concerned about the size of the dock and deck area increase of over 30 meters versus our allowable, and specifically on the narrow waterway. I am a boater in that area, and 3 slips with 3 big boats in that narrow waterway is going to be an issue environmentally for the shoreline. And I have a very big concern about that. So I think some work could be done to ensure that the full landscaping plan is included. And if there's any work to be proposed in the next 10 to 20 years on that island, it needs to be in the same application. Councillor Adams, you have something to add.
Sorry. I agree with Councillor Fellner and Councillor Fenton. There is a lot of asks. And I noticed we've been putting some things through that, you know, a lot of people are like Gail said, they're getting bigger and bigger. And I think like the 3-slip boathouse, that should not be permitted. That should be, if it's a 2-slip. I know there are other 3-slip boathouses on Lake Joe, but that was before my time. So I had no control over that. But if it states in the plan that it's for a 2-slip boathouse, it should stay at that. The main cottage itself I like the configuration and everything else. but it is very large and over the footprint. So I think that has to be worked on too. Thank you.
Thank you. And today is for the public meeting. No decisions will be made today. So I urge the planners, the architect, and the proponent, the owners, to take into consideration what you've heard here today and the correspondence that's been received and the planning report that came from our staff. So, thank you. We will move on to my next, again, I forgot about it. The purpose of consent application number B 2024-0033-H for mile is to adjust the existing lot line between 23 and 31 High Point Drive. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which the notice of the meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property on March 20th, 2025, posting on the Township of Seguin's website, and by regular mail on April 8th, 2025. Notice was therefore considered and provided in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to this application?
No correspondence has been received.
Is there anyone present in person or in the council chambers who wishes to speak in favor of or in application to this? You're not here for that, are you, John? Has anyone registered to speak to this application via electronic participation?
No one is registered to speak to this application by electronic participation.
And does council have any questions? Nope, that's great. We move on. It's pretty straightforward. So the third one, number C, the purpose of consent application numbers B 2025-0006, 07, 08, C for Henhofer is to create 3 new lots in Orville. A municipal road allowance, Charles Street, will need to be extended and improved to a public road to provide access and frontage for the lots. The purpose of the associated zoning bylaw amendment, application number R 2025-0004-C, is to rezone the proposed lots to an R1 exception zone to recognize a reduced frontage and area. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which the notice of that meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property on April 1st, 2025, and by posting on the Township of Seguin's website and by regular mail on April 2nd, 2025. Notice was therefore considered and provided in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act.
Has Township received any correspondence with respect to these applications?
No correspondence has been received.
And I see John Jackson is present in person in the council chambers to speak in favor of or in opposition to these applications. So go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good afternoon, Council. Nice to get out of the office. So that's why I'm here. Taylor has worked pretty hard alongside me with this particular landowner who's aggressively interested in developing homes, attainable homes in the settlement area of Orville. So we've gone over the conditions. We're quite comfortable with them. Some will be onerous. We're going to spend a fair bit of resources hiring an engineer to design the Charles Street to an actual road that's capable of being maintained. So I'm mostly here just to thank Taylor and answer any questions.
Does council have any questions? Councillor Finson.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just a little one. Just because of looking at it, visually looking at it, I can't really figure it out. And I did ask Taylor, but the frontages, are they big enough? Like the properties are really, really long. So I'm just thinking about if you build a house, can you put it there or do you have to put it?
The actual lots for you, Madam Chair, the actual lots are quite large.
Okay, yeah.
But we're, if you can see the rationale, this is kind of a first phase of a couple of phases where the municipal street will extend. So our first phase for the first 3 lots will be on essentially a hammerhead type turnaround.
Okay.
So they'll have sufficient frontage, and I suspect you could design a home to front either directly on that hammerhead or turn it 90 degrees, so it shouldn't be a problem.
I was just curious.
It's a strange configuration for the old timers around, like Ted. They know that it was part of the Bailey former pit in downtown Orville, and so it's I think a good reuse of the land.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Counselor, oh, just a sec. Okay. Yep. Okay, go ahead, Counselor Bazinski.
John, just out of curiosity, you're saying it's the first phase. Why wouldn't you put the whole development proposal together at the same time?
Well, we did have a couple of back and forths with the owner and staff, and it's kind of putting your toe in the water in this instance. I know the client's pretty aggressive. He's going to do well in terms of high quality, but it's kind of a feel as you go kind of program. We think there's going to be a strong market in the settlement area, but it's being done almost as much for marketing as it is for planning.
Thank you.
We did, and just on a side note to that, the first one of the go-arounds was quite aggressive, but it had I would say some difficulties respecting natural heritage features that still remain on the property.
Counselor Fellner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This question's for Councilor Collins, actually. So is this the piece of property we walked a couple years ago, Ted, looked at in Orville?
Do you remember John Bailey?
Yeah,
That was the property.
yeah, so that's the one we looked at. We walked it a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the previous owner. Yeah, he was the previous owner of that property.
Okay, yeah, okay. No, that's all I had. I'm trying to figure out where it was.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Council.
We don't have any electronics. Is anybody registered to speak electronically?
No one is registered to speak electronically.
The purpose of consent application number B 2025-0009-H for Curtis is to permit a right-of-way for private hydro services to benefit the property known as 49 Cemetery Road. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which the notice of that meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property, posting on the Township of Seguin's website, and by regular mail on April 8th, 2025. Notice was therefore considered to provide in accordance with requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to this application?
No correspondence has been received.
And I see no one in person in the council chambers who's going to speak to this. Has anyone registered to speak to this application via electronic participation?
No one has registered to speak to this application by electronic participation.
Does council have any questions? Council will now close the public meeting and reconvene to a regular meeting. I have a motion that the public meeting held for the following matter is hereby closed and the regular meeting is hereby reconvened. We have several motions to go through. Can I have a motion to Terry and Ken? All in favor of moving out of public? Thank you. So this is to put some of this into practice. We have a motion that Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby grant provisional approval to consent application number B 2024-0033-H for Mile, subject to the conditions set out in the decision. We need a mover. Ken, Greg. All in favor? Thank you, and that's carried. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby grant provisional approval to consent application numbers B 2025-0006, 0007, 0008-C for Henhofer, subject to the conditions set out in the decision. And I need a mover. Terry and Gail. All in favor? Thank you. This is a second part of the same property. A motion that bylaw number 2025-027, being a bylaw to amend the Township of Seguin zoning bylaw number 2006-125, property roll number 4903-040-002-04805, application number R 2025-0004-C for Henhofer is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Mover. Greg. All in favor? Thank you. And one more, I think. Yes. Motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby grant provisional approval to consent application number B 2025-0009-H for Curtis, subject to the conditions set out in the decision. Mover, Terry, and Greg. All in favor? Thank you. So that is a full set of planning applications. Okay, so now we move, I have motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive the staff reports as presented on the agenda for the April 22nd, 2025 meeting of council. Mario and Greg. All in favor? So I have a motion that bylaw number 2025-026, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with John Dunlop and Margaret Wilkinson to an agreement under section 51, bracket 26 of the Planning Act, RSO as amended, file number ARG-2024-0007-H is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. And I think, oh yes, we need to put a motion on the table. You're right. Thank you. And Gail. And I think we have Taylor to speak to this. You have the floor, Taylor, to explain it to us.
Thank you. Through your worship, this is just a condition of a recent severance application where some additional environmental protection requirements were needed. So if approved, this would be registered on title, so all future owners would be aware of what is expected of them.
Does council have any questions? All in favor? And that is carried. Oh. This is coming back from the last meeting. I have a motion that bylaw number 2025-024, being a bylaw to amend the Township of Seguin zoning bylaw number 2006-125, property roll number 4903-010-001-11200, application number R 2024-0007-H for Della Maestra is hereby deemed to have read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. So it was moved originally by Ken and seconded by Mario, and it was moved to be deferred by Mario and Terry, Councillor Fellner. And Taylor, I believe, could be still on screen, but I believe that the only thing that's happened is they've taken a wall off the boathouse.
That is correct. Now it is a traditional boat port in that perspective.
Councillor Finson.
I was reading that and it says that the covenant, the hold, has to be taken off the property before the boat port is built. I would not approve of taking off the covenant on that property. I wouldn't be comfortable with it because that means that once it's gone, that boat port can become a boathouse pretty quickly. So I think that's what I read, that it has to be taken off before the boat port is approved. Is that true?
Taylor, can you respond to that?
Certainly, through your worship, yes, there's a holding symbol on the property. And the holding symbol does not allow for the boat port to be erected until the restrictive covenant is addressed or removed. The applicant did sign off on this amendment to it and the holding provision, so they're well aware, and we're facilitating their request.
So no construction can occur until the covenant, which goes back several years, is gone and the H is gone.
So, what I would say is then maybe a new covenant should be agreed upon, because I do not think that that's a good idea. I think that we know, we've seen, we've dealt with the property before. And the truth is, it's like build it and ask for forgiveness. And I would hate to see it removed or something specific not put on there to say, this is it. You can't have any more than that. I'm just not comfortable with that, removing it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Taylor. I don't believe anybody is suggesting we remove the covenant. This council has voted against removing the covenant several times. So nobody's suggesting that the covenant will go.
But you can't build without it gone. Is that true?
Correct. The boat port or the boathouse or anything cannot be built.
That, I just wanted to make that clear that I didn't want it removed. Thanks.
Councillor Getty.
Sorry. In my understanding, Taylor, and kind of following for Councillor Finson, is that if through some form of judicial proceeding, the applicant is able to get the restrictive covenant removed, then the only thing that they would be able to build on that property would be this boat port. They would not be able to come back and build a boathouse. Is that correct?
In that scenario, that is also correct. A boathouse is still a prohibited use, but given those circumstances, a boat port would be permitted.
Okay, thank you.
So all in favor of passing this now? Thank you. Carried. So I put what today? April 20.
Yes. Thanks.
Okay. I have a motion that the recommendation of staff report RD 2025-003, the copy attached, the council of the corporation does hereby authorize staff to enter into capital lease agreements with Enterprise Fleet Management, Inc. for the replacement and disposal of vehicles included in the capital budget forecast. And a mover. Mary Ellen Gregg. And we have Tom and Michelle to talk to this. If anybody has any questions, I think it's pretty clearly explained in the budget package.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm happy to answer any questions. Just with these long lead times and these trucks, we still don't have our second truck that we bought in 2023. So it would be nice to purchase a truck now for a quicker turnaround and get our fleet back on track, at least started to get back on track. So happy to answer any questions, and thanks, Michelle, for jumping on as well.
Does council have any questions? Nope. All in favor? Go buy your truck. Is this, it has to be here or it can't?
Yes, Terry.
Okay. I have a motion that the council of the corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby direct staff to investigate and report on the feasibility of a bylaw regulating rock crushing as a standalone activity, considering environmental, community, and operational impacts with findings and recommendations to be presented at a future council meeting. Could I have a mover from Councillor Fellner and Councillor Finson? All in favor. This is direction to staff. Thank you. Moving right along. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby approve a sponsorship amount in blank to the Near North Crime Stoppers for its 27th annual golf tournament. Could I have a mover to put this on, Gail? And a seconder? Ken? Michelle's probably gone already, but I don't, did we give anything to the Crime Stoppers in the past?
I don't believe so.
Okay, I guess I have a concern. A, we have a December 1 deadline for asking for money from charitable.
Yeah.
And B, there are an awful lot of golf tournaments that might be on our doorstep. But if anybody else has anything to add, go ahead.
Just to note, Your Worship, the ask is for $150.
Do we have that in our philanthropic budget?
I believe after we awarded all of the grants and donations back in February, there was about, I want to say $1,100 left in the budget.
Councillor Fellner.
I'd like to propose that we give
Support them.
Support them. I think they did good work, I think, and probably if we ask them to be more timely with their requests, they will be.
I agree.
Okay,
I also supported that.
okay. Are people generally comfortable with $150 towards them? Yeah. Okay, could we then also, Michelle, when they get the money, tell them there's a December 1 deadline next year? With their check?
Absolutely.
So we are putting in $150 and all in favor. And that's carried. Now we move on to the two items that were in the addendum. The first comes from Councillor Getty regarding strong mayor's powers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I thought it was important that it be discussed, this topic be discussed at council by all of us. On April 9th, the province issued a news release looking to expand strong mayor powers to 169 other communities. Effective May 1st, their timelines didn't fit with our council meetings. Our last meeting was on the 7th. The report came out, was released on the 9th. They asked for a commitment, are you in or you out by the 16th, which quite frankly is ridiculous. I know that there's been a number of councils and mayors have accepted it. A number of councils and mayors have not accepted it. And I think it is something, in this process that we have here in the council chamber in Seguin, not everybody agrees on every single issue, but there is opportunity for discussion, and we have a system that functions. The question is, do we as a council and mayor accept these powers from the provincial government? My understanding, and I'll defer to others that have more expertise than me, was that the intent of this was because of obstruction and stagnation in regards to the goals set by the provincial government relative to housing initiatives. I think that this council, staff, mayor, from the beginning have been progressive and moving forward to try to do what we can as a small municipality in the province of Ontario to come up with innovative and new ideas to be able to proceed to meet those goals that, quite frankly, a number of other municipalities either aren't able to or probably don't have the ability to. I think that this is in regards to the issue of housing, this is a in my opinion, a well-functioning council with a lot of support for it. Because it is a change to a system, a significant change to what has been the historical democratic process of municipal councils, I think that it's something that should be put on the table for discussion at a council meeting. And not to put you on the spot, Madam Mayor, but in fairness to you, these issues are relative to you as the mayor, and that's why I asked them to be put on the agenda.
Thank you. No, I have absolutely no problem doing a request for a motion. That is the same process that Terry used for the rock crushing. That we would have a motion put on the table and it would be discussed at the next meeting. I can tell you as a council and the public, I have no intent to use the strong mayor's powers. I think this council is working well. Votes and discussion are open. A lot of people think that the mayor would have the chance to hire and fire all kinds of senior staff. If you look at it, that's not really true. Our CBO, our treasurer, our fire chief, clerk, deputy clerk are all positions that are controlled by a motion in council, not by a mayor. I personally don't think in our case it's going to make any difference to housing. I really don't, because I think we're working towards the provincial goals as best we can. But if you want to put a motion forward to have a discussion next, that would be for Greg to do.
And that's why I thought we should bring it up and discuss it. And Madam Mayor, I completely agree with you for this term of council. But if you don't run, or if you are not the mayor next time, or somebody else is sitting in that chair, then the reality of what can happen changes. And I think that, you know, as a community, I'm willing to put a motion forward. I'm willing to put Mario's motion forward if I'm the one who brought it up.
Have a motion today.
Okay.
It's a notice of motion is our bylaw
Got it.
of how we take motions forward.
Can we, I then put it forward that at the next meeting, we bring forward a motion to address the strong mayor powers? Is that the way it would?
Is that the way, that's the process? Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
But there's several other people that want to speak to this. So Councillor Fellner's first.
Well, I'm not hearing anything that I disagree with. My personal opinion is we hired a guy that was responsible for all the staff in this township, and it's his decision who to hire and replace and promote, fire, and do whatever he thinks needs to be done. And I think he's done a good job of that since he's come aboard. The other thing is I don't think it's really going to help promote attainable housing in our township. I mean, the biggest detriment we've got right now is the provincial government. Quite frankly, if they would get off the dime and support us, we could put some shovels in the ground and get going. So I don't know if anybody is listening to this, but it's getting a little bit crazy. I have the same concern as what was just I have the same concern as what was just raised by Councillor Getty with regards to subsequent governance and people. I mean, you're seeing it. We've seen specific examples of incoming councils disagreeing with previous councils' decisions and deciding that they have the ability to just opt out of legal agreements, any kinds of things. It happens all the time, and I think we have to guard against this kind of thing. The only comment I'm going to make is at the next meeting, if there is an intent to bring in a resolution to this table to get voted on at that meeting, I want to see that resolution at least 2 weeks before the meeting, period. I don't want to have to start looking at a resolution and have an expectation for me to vote on it personally a day before or 2 days before.
Okay.
And if we can agree on that, and we usually agree to disagree on a lot of things, then I'm okay, guys.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything in the procedural bylaw that would prohibit circulating it, is there?
No, member of council could do that themselves, but I'm just not going to look at the calendar.
I can't hear.
Oh. Sorry.
No, that the procedural
Good.
bylaw you have to remember is council's. It's council's meeting, council agendas and council's procedural bylaws. So if council agrees on a date that they want that forwarded by, I'm just looking at a calendar to see what that would be.
Meeting stretches a bit because of May meetings. Hang on. Well, if the next meeting is May 12th, we can still circulate a motion tomorrow or next week. Still gives us 2 weeks to look at it. Yeah, but the procedural bylaw asks for a notice of motion before it goes, and then you can circulate it when you want. So Councillor Bazinski and then Councillor Adams.
A couple of things. One is, all we can do is put forward our objection to it. It's a provincial legislation. The province has the say over top of the municipality. So no matter what we do, the province can still give us strong mayor powers. Now, just a little bit, because I'm painfully familiar with this from my experience with the city of Orillia. Orillia, council voted to bring in a new CAO. They had a vacant position. Council voted on it. The mayor got strong mayor powers because of the ice storm, and he rescinded that after the job offer had been given to an applicant from Barrie, who had quit his job and who was looking for a place in Orillia. And the mayor would not explain the rationale for his decision. He decided to give it to somebody that was already a deputy in the township. So this is more than just housing. This is basically everything to do with the way the municipality is run. And so I don't think anybody, and certainly I don't think our mayor would want to arbitrarily override the decisions of council. We were all elected democratically to represent our ratepayers, and you know, it should be a democratic decision. And I'm sure all of us have at one time or the other had something that they wanted turned down because it was a majority of council. And that's fine. You live with it and you move on and you don't hold any grudges. I was concerned though, because if you look at it, this strong mayor's power is supposed to kick in on the 1st of May. So if we delay till after the 1st of May, we may be just, you know, it doesn't, although even the cutoff date is passed, theoretically, if we were to do something now in some fashion, at least to show our opposition to it, I don't know if we have to pass a resolution. I actually had a resolution drafted for consideration, and I'm not going to go through the formality of having it accepted, but all I was going to say was that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin opposes the expansion of strong mayor powers as announced on April 9th, 2025. Council requests that the proposed amendments to OReg 530-22 to expand strong mayor powers and duties to additional municipalities not include the Township of Seguin. So it's pretty straightforward. And that council directs the clerk to forward a copy of this resolution, yada, yada, yada. So I think it's very important that before May 1st, that the province understands that Seguin doesn't want it. Parry Sound has already sent a similar resolution through. So if we wait till after, it'll be implemented, and then nobody can say that we responded. So that was my only comments.
Okay, several of you want to speak, and then I'm gonna say a couple words. Ken, you're next. Okay, Greg, you're next. No, no comment? Terry?
I can't comment to the validity of what Mario want, because I don't know. But I'm just saying, if that's the case, if we need to supply a response by the beginning of the month, then, you know, it's important enough. I think we would need to have a special meeting and just get it dealt with and be done with. I don't know what you think, but
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
have-
putting it out there for you.
Yeah, I have some concerns about going against this brand new minister because we are an animal of his ministry, municipal affairs and housing. And I suspect he didn't really do this. I suspect the premier told him to do this. Because that's where the strong mayor idea came from. So I'm open to what if council wants to call a special meeting. The deadline for comments has actually passed. If you feel it's important enough to raise a red flag around our municipality when we are trying very hard to get their support for our housing, I'm concerned. Councillor Finson.
Can we not find out if that's the way it works first before we make a decision to send a letter? Like, can I not ask my friend on Friday if it works like that? So if it automatically you become, you have strong mayor powers if you don't respond, is that?
I think you will have them even if you do respond, frankly. That's what we've been told.
I
I'm
see what you're saying now. I get it. Okay.
Councillor Getty.
Thank you, Mayor. Mario raised a good point in regards to May the 1st. I agree with Terry. Terry had asked for 2 weeks. If the mayor was agreeable to call a special meeting a week from now, would a week be enough for you to review it, to be able to make a decision based on it? And Madam Mayor, I understand the concern about the new minister and possibly stonewalling us in regards to things. But quite frankly, I won't be held hostage by the minister or anybody else. I apologize. I'm sorry, but I can't operate like that.
As the mayor is fond of saying, one last comment. I think that if the mayor is amenable to that, we could have a quick special meeting by Zoom, it could be, or whatever. I think in the meantime, the thing Mario crafted up to me is pretty straightforward. I think what we should do is use what internal methods we have to investigate what the repercussions are. I'm not particularly worried about repercussions. I would like to know what they are before we decide. I always like to know, right? And then just have a quick, my suggestion would be have a quick meeting before the end of the month, decide what to do, and if we need to pass something, we'll pass it and move on. And I'd like to hear Jason's take on it.
I'm not sure you want my take on this. I'll just suggest to council that if you choose to oppose or you choose to support a position, regardless of what happens, unless the legislation changes to identify an exit clause or an option, an opt-in, opt-out clause. But if the legislation were to pass as it's written today, you can put up opposition or not. It's not going to matter. So unless now there is a public commenting period, it's short, and this majority government at the provincial level can make things happen. And so if you want to have a special meeting, it's up to the mayor to call that meeting and consider sending your feedback. However, if there is no changes and they push it through, they push it through, and it is where we are.
Yes, so I think if you look at the way I had worded it, it's a little different than numerous other municipalities. If you Google on strong mayor powers opposition, you'll see that dozens of municipalities have already sent something in, and they're talking about the lack of democracy and other such issues. There was no wording along those lines in my issue. And you may be right, but we'd be doing this not just for ourselves, but we'd be doing it for our ratepayers, because I don't think our ratepayers elected us so that there could be a monopoly by the mayor in decision making. So we're responsible to our ratepayers, and if they don't feel that we've tried to maintain the normal workings of council, then I think we're doing them a disservice. And I don't think that there's going to be any blowback, because as the CAO has said, probably there won't be any change given the way this government is operating. However, I think it's important for our ratepayers to know that we tried.
I'm going to ask the clerk to step in a little bit here.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry,
I would like
sorry,
to-
Ted, do you have a comment
Okay,
first?
yes, thank you, Mayor. This basically, I think, is an opinion of council, basically. And as Mario just said about, the majority of us are all elected by our citizens. And it is just an opinion. And as the CAO mentioned, this could easily be passed. But it's that opinion that needs to resonate to our ratepayers. And that's all it is. And it could be, this resolution is for the record, basically. It's for the record, and it's our opinion, and that's it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Your turn, clerk.
So I just wanted to clarify, because I want to make sure that council doesn't have the wrong impression. You cannot debate and discuss a draft resolution by email prior to the meeting. So we can, if member of council gives us a draft resolution to put forth, sure, we can circulate that to you as soon as we have the agenda package ready for a special meeting of council, which could be pretty quick if that's the only item on the agenda. But council can in no way discuss or debate that resolution outside of a council meeting. So I just want to make sure that everybody's clear on that, because the resolution that comes to the table will be the one that we put out in the package, and you shouldn't really have that debate outside of the council meeting. And I might have misled you earlier on that.
Okay, so the resolution cannot have been looked at by anybody other than you prior to today.
Well,
Really? Okay, so I'm prepared to call a special meeting of council. I'm going to suggest next Monday, because we are together on Tuesday. Wait a minute. Tuesday is the Indigenous training and the what's it called? Environmental training. What times were those? Are they all day, 9 to 12 plus lunch plus?
We're 3 hours in the morning with Miss Brownbill, and then a lunch break, and then the duration of the afternoon would be spent with the rest of staff working through the environmental training. So I would advise and recommend against Tuesday, given all staff are engaged and involved. And if you're going to host a council meeting, it means we're pulling at least the clerk and the deputy clerk, myself, a few other folks out of the long planned all training day. So Monday is a much more appropriate day if that's
The 28th, Monday.
And if I can, Your Worship, I suspect that if you wanted to do it on the 28th, it's a one topic discussion. I don't imagine that we would spend 4 or 5 hours debating that topic. I would imagine council would be pretty quick with this one. You could all likely zoom into that meeting and we could have quorum via Zoom, just to save traveling in. That could be done at any time on the 28th.
Councillor Adams.
Don't mean to be a pain, but if we have the meeting Monday, can we have it between after 9 and before 3? In that time slot?
Sure, doesn't matter to me. So, I mean, I'm happy to say 9 o'clock Monday.
9 o'clock would be fine.
All right, is that okay with you?
Sorry, I was going to surprise Craig and ask a procedural question. Do I then have to withdraw the putting forward a motion at the next meeting on the 15th as was originally suggested?
You'll be done.
Okay. Oh, I got one right.
Is that okay for timing for you? 9 a.m. Monday,
Yes, that's perfect.
here or by Zoom? So you can circulate, that'll be the only agenda item, but you cannot discuss it outside of outside of the meeting.
Can I ask one quick question?
It can be edited or it can.
be edited, but it's pretty non-confrontational.
Mario, so Ted can hear.
It can be edited, but it's pretty non-confrontational.
Councillor Adams, you have a comment?
Yeah, if you do resolutions, does this carry on to the next term of council? So it carries on through, right?
I think what Ted has described it as is the most important. It's putting something on record that we respect democracy.
Yeah.
And this mayor doesn't really need strong powers to work with the people of this community. But just like the covenant on Mr. Delameister's property, another council can undo it. So go ahead.
So, and perhaps the clerk can correct me if I'm wrong, but we will issue an agenda with the proposed resolution. It's not for discussion between now and then. Council can only discuss resolutions once you're together at the table, whether it's virtual or otherwise. It doesn't mean that that's the final resolution. Council can come to the meeting on the 28th with, I'd like to see this amendment. You can go through that process. If there's further dialogue, that would be the purpose of that meeting. And then ultimately pass or not pass or whatever council chooses to do at that point in time.
And I would suggest if you can get any inside information on how this is going to be implemented, it would be useful for the discussion on Monday. Yes, I know. So put it on your calendar. We have a council meeting Monday, May 28th. No. For breakfast. But I do have item 7D, which is in your addendum package. And it's really for your information. It's concerning because as you have been aware, and the previous council was aware, we were one of the councils that strongly objected to the mega school being built and wanted to keep the McDougall School open. The Near North School Board agreed with us and wrote a letter to that effect prior to the Ontario election. I certainly attended several meetings. And it appears that the Near North School Board has been ignored by the new Minister of Education. So we were asked to spread this letter far and wide, which is what I was doing by putting it in here. I feel for the members of the Near North School Board, and I particularly feel for them because they're hearing other things about what might be happening at the McDougall School that they've never heard before through indirect and unofficial channels. So speak up if you, with your member of parliament, with the Minister of Education. In this case, democracy of the board didn't work. So now we go on to council reports. Who went first last time? Okay, that's a great volunteer.
April the 14th, I attended the Chamber of Commerce meeting in person at the Georgian College. April, there was a lot of talk about the tariff and stuff like that. April the 16th, I attended the Recreation and Culture meeting by Zoom. I had a couple of meetings with staff in that time. I have two association meetings scheduled, one in May and one in July. And I have a museum meeting on Thursday night. Things have been pretty quiet, but I just got a phone call just before the meeting that I have to attend. Look at as soon as I get home. Anyway, thank you. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Councillor Bazinski?
Well, I tried to attend a Muskoka Watershed Council meeting on the 16th. They have a new day and time. It's 4 to 6 p.m. on a Wednesday. However, their Zoom type system failed, so I wasn't able to attend. However, I did get the minutes for the meeting after. Other than that, I've had 3 calls with respect to the Camp for the Deaf. And I'm just wondering if our staff has made any progress on it.
Through your worship, we are certainly working actively on the file. I don't have a status update for you today on it, but we have provided notice to the author of the letter that we are working on it, but I'm unable to provide a timeline right now. We can report back. We can report back with a status update at the next meeting, but I don't have any information on me today.
Councillor Getty.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We had a meeting of the Health Fair Committee. I'd like to thank Valerie for all her work. She's done a great job in regards to the media and how we're going to move forward. The date and time has been confirmed as Tuesday, the 27th of May of this year, between 2 and 6 p.m. at the Humphrey Arena. Valerie's been working with Naomi at the clinic, and they are in the process of securing attendees. I think that they're also reaching out to Ms. Bissonnette in regards to some of the people that you've had in Rosso that have been successful. So it's spreading in regards to this solicitation of participants, but it's moving forward very well. The first West Perry Sound Police Services Board quarterly report came out, and quite frankly, I'm not going to report on it at this meeting because it only deals with West Perry Sound in totality, so I can't give anything specific in regards to our municipality. But we have a board meeting on Thursday, and I'll report back at the next meeting in regards to the issues relative to Seguin Township. And I'm going to ask if Craig can put some photographs up. This is an ongoing. Oh, Jason, sorry, if you can put some photographs up. I just want to bring this people's attention. This is an ongoing issue at our transfer stations. Staff are being forced on a daily basis to go around and pick up. Somebody has decided over the weekend, this is the Turtle Lake transfer site. They've decided that it is a compost facility now. This is a photograph of the cardboard compactor. The compactor was full. These were taken last night after a 4-day weekend. People had been and were able to put their cardboard into the unit. But the reason why it wasn't compacted is because somebody decided to put construction material and wood into it, so it blocked the sensor, and it required staff to go out on a holiday to try to alleviate it. There's one other photograph down by the bottle and can recycling location. And somebody was nice enough to drop off 2 couches, and I can't remember all the other junk that was there. Normally, I have different terms for the people that were doing this, but I think in the fact that children may in fact watch the YouTube video of this, I will say that just call them the people that are violating our dumping bylaws. But make no mistake about it, you as taxpayers are paying for this. Oh, there we are. There's 2 broken Muskoka chairs there, as well as a number of other things. So if somebody wants to do a little Monday night shopping, it's available, but this is an ongoing basis at all of our transfer stations. And quite frankly, is something that I know staff are working on resolving, but some of this is illegal dumping from people outside of our township, but make no mistake about it, much of this is from people within our township that are too lazy to drive up to Orville to dump at the landfill site up there. Thank you for accommodating me on that.
Councillor Fellner.
Thank you, Mayor. I had, since our last meeting, I had a meeting of the the pool. And for those who haven't driven by the site lately, I encourage you to drive by because the progress is, quite frankly, is amazing. You know, we had wrinkles like anything else, you know, in the beginning, and people were wondering what was going on. But I think, in my opinion, we hit the grand slam when we got Ball Construction, because these guys have been just awesome all winter long, in a very difficult winter. They've kept it on budget, on schedule, you know, and actually I don't doubt they're a little bit ahead, you know, and very solutions driven organization, and it's really nice to see. Fundraising is going well, and the user groups are getting very excited about this facility coming online, and highly anticipated, and so I think things are good there. Also attended a meeting of our own Seguin Recreation Committee. I think Councillor Kenny was there as well, and we and Gail, and we went through you know, as usual, a bunch of the things that are planned for the township over the years, and it's getting more organized, and encourage more people to come out and get involved. And I think we got some really good events coming up, right? So I apologize for not having my little report on good roads and reading Councillor Getty's report. It reminded me that I owed him one, but I don't know what else I could say other than he has. It was, we went for pretty much the same things. And anyhow, that's all I've got to say today. Thank you.
Councillor Collins, your report.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, on April 10th, in the morning, I had my one-on-one with our CAO. And in the evening at 6:30, I had my regular DSAB meeting. And just a normal meeting, nothing really to pass on at this time. That's it.
Councillor Finson?
On April the 10th, I had a DSAB meeting. There were some things at the DSAB meeting. They talked a lot about the childcare service, and their management software has changed. The management software has changed. They talked a little bit about some major maintenance that they've had to do at some of the locations, so it's been a costly month or two. I forwarded the reports on to staff. On April the 14th, I had a meeting with Jason, my one-on-one. On April the 15th, I did the lunch and learn, which was fabulous once again. I had to leave a little early because I had an appointment, but it was fabulous, and the hearing people were really good. People really enjoyed it. We had, I think, 42 people. The next one, it's the second Tuesday, I believe. I don't know the date off my head. I know the date because I had to change my Prince Edward Island plans. The next one's on the 20th. The 21st, the Tuesday of that week. I think it's the 21st of May. Yeah. And I wanted to be at that one for a particular reason. I'm in Prince Edward Island, so I changed my plans. On April and it was mac and cheese. It was delicious. I was surprised at how delicious it was. On April the 16th, I shopped for the Bunny Bash. On April the 17th, no, on the 16th, I shopped for the Bunny Bash, and then I took it to the hall and got it all sorted, and it was fantastic. It was so fantastic, and it was just enough. We didn't have too much. I was cleaned up and out of there by quarter after. I did swept all the floors, everything by quarter after 1. It was fantastic. People hung around the whole time. It was really good. And I think next year I've got more ideas. So it was really good. We had a great time. And I also had a rec committee meeting on the 16th of April, and they talked about the spring fling, and I've offered to help with that if I'm here. So they had a date, but it was too soon, so they put a date further down the road. And then, of course, the 19th was the Bunny Bash, the actual event, and it was just really fantastic. And I think I might have done other things, but that was all. That's all I have written down. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'm pretty boring compared to bunny bashes and Easter egg hunts. April 8th, we had an airport commission meeting. Then on the 9th, which happened to be the day of the announcement of the strong mayors, I had a Northern Ontario Women's Caucus, and certainly they talked about it a lot. And that night we had a recreation center meeting. And I will say something that was talked about there. Terry sings the praises of Ball Construction. Ball Construction is also donating $30,000 to our fundraising, which is very nice to have a contractor stepping forward for that. Then on the 14th, I attended the Perry Sound Leisure Fair, which is where all the user groups for every facility from hockey to basketball to swim teams meet and try and recruit kids to participate, but also parents. And they got 18 people signed up to be on the board of the swim club. Parents. So there's interest. And on the 15th, we had a recreation center fundraising meeting. The 16th, Jason and I and Craig attended the emergency planning group here, and you will see some big documents coming your way soon that you're going to have to read. And then on the 17th, I did attend the Foley Easter egg hunt, which was organized by age group, which was a really good idea, so that the big kids didn't get all the eggs from the little kids. They had them in different areas and different timelines and different sized eggs. So it was a high-tech Easter egg hunt. And today I'll be at the Earth Day celebrations. And I just wanted to remind everybody that next Tuesday is the all-day Indigenous training and then the environmental training. And I assume you're going to feed us at lunch. Yep. Okay. So that we've got, that's next Tuesday all day here or in the arena? The arena. Okay. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Worship. I'm likely going to repeat a bunch of things, but I'll do it anyways. As noted, today is Earth Day, and this afternoon and this evening we'll be celebrating the Humphrey Barn and Nature Trails between now 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. There are guided nature walks, refreshments, games, and crafts. The team is also giving away free white spruce seedlings and wildflower seeds, and this event is hosted in partnership with the Georgian Bay Biosphere. Ball hockey is back at the Humphrey Arena starting next Wednesday. This is a drop-in 5-week program and is free thanks to a very generous anonymous donor. A note that we do continue to need volunteers to support the program, so feel free to visit seguin.ca/ballhockey for more information. Seguin Township is working to enhance our waste management plan. Can only go uphill in certain times. And unfortunately, the photos that Councillor Getty has shared is more than just a one-off. That is a routine issue that we manage on a day-to-day basis, and it helps understand why we're out seeking some feedback from the public as we're looking to enhance our operations at our waste transfer stations. So the community is encouraged to complete a short survey at letsconnectseguin.ca. And more information about the initiative will be shared in the coming days. And as Councillor Getty also noted, the second annual Seguin Health Fair will be held Tuesday, May 27th at the Humphrey Community Center between 2 and 6 p.m. This event is led by the West Parry Sound Health Center Rural Nurse Practitioner-led Clinic in partnership with the Township. This year's event is focused on health and wellness programs and services available for Seguin Township residents of all ages. Visit our seguin.ca/healthfair webpage or visit our Facebook page for more information. And one last update I need to just check quickly. I don't know that I have permission for this, but I'm going to do it anyways. You know, our little recreation facilities in our community, including the Humphrey Arena, every now and then help somebody reach dreams and achieve goals that are sometimes unreal. And last week, a young man, and I'll leave the names out for now, but a young man who learned how to skate at Humphrey, played out of Humphrey for a number of years, played for Parry Sound for the last number of years, and recently was down in Barrie playing AAA hockey, has been drafted in the first round of the OHL draft to the Oshawa Generals. So congratulations. Dreams can come true for many, and in some small way, our facilities help enable. And we're proud of that young man and the efforts he's put forward, representing Seguin, West Parry Sound. To have someone making it to that level of competitive hockey is far and few between, and I think as a community, we're quite proud of the young man. That's it for me, Your Worship.
Thank you. On a good news story. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive the board and committee minutes and agendas and the correspondence as presented on the agenda and the addendum for the April 22nd, 2025 meeting of council. Craig and Mario. All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby proceed to a closed meeting at 4:16 p.m. in order to address matters pertaining to litigation or potential litigation, including matters before the administrative tribunals, specifically the Ontario Land Tribunal, memorandum of oral decision, and a proposed or pending acquisition of disposition of land by the municipality. Can I have a mover? Greg and Gail. All in favor? And we move into closed. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby rise from the closed session and declare the regular meeting reconvened at 4:35 p.m. Mover? Seconder, Ken. All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that bylaw number 2025-028 being a bylaw to authorize an exchange of land for Brand from between Mr. Brand and Ferris Road is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Terry and Mario. All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that bylaw number 2025-029, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of meetings of council, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adjourn this meeting at 4:36 p.m. to meet again on Monday, April 28th at 9 a.m. or at the call of the mayor, but I'm not going to call one before Monday. Ken and Mary. All in favor?